Hello, hello. Welcome to all of you. This is Coach Adrian, and I am very, very, very excited to be able to do this live stream with you today. And I was talking with my partners, Alex, Natalie, Danny, Abby, and one thing that we wanted to make sure that we did more of in 2022 was to do more lives, to be able to come on live like this and really to have an opportunity to share some of the things that we are learning in our private coaching sessions, and also to be able to create a space where we can be closer to you guys, those that are part of our community, those of you that follow us, those of you that trust us. And so my hope was to be able to do one live just like this, at least one live every week, where just I block off a little bit of time in my calendar to be able to come on to share some of the things that I'm basically conveying to my clients in private coaching sessions, and also to give you a space to ask any question that you have for me. Over the past couple of days, I've had quite a few clients that reached out to me asking about positive signs during their breakup recovery, perhaps during a separation that they are going through. And I know that a lot of you are struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I wanted to do a live to be able to kind of, talk this through with you and to give you a little bit of hope and a little bit of perspective. So hello, Natasha. Thank you for your comment. And I encourage all of you to interact with me in the chat. Tell me a little bit about you. Tell me if you have a question for me, pose it there throughout the live. I'm going to do my best to also address your questions. So during my last coaching session, as I was talking about, a client specifically needed a little bit of guidance and insights on positive signs during her separation. And so I was taking a few notes and I noted 17 signs that were very positive. And I was hoping to focus this specific live on those positive signs that I think will also really, really help you. Hello, Billy. Hello, Natasha from Montreal. Thank you for being live with me. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of address during this live is the fact that your mindset is your greatest ally. If you can't see the positive signs, if you can't really be in this positive mindset after a separation or a breakup, the odds of you reaching your goal of rebuilding your marriage or your relationship are going to be low, because your mindset is your greatest ally. And that's why this video is so important, and why I want you to cultivate that positive mindset in order to maximize your chances of success. So thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Billy, Nigeria, Boca in the house. So this is wonderful. So the first signs that I want to talk about really are linked to personal transformation. If you've watched our channels, our videos, whether it's on Happily Committed, on Love Advice TV, you know that personal transformation is at the heart of everything that we do. And those positive signs that I want to address first and foremost are linked to your process of personal transformation. Okay. So first and foremost, how you feel about yourself can greatly determine whether you will be successful or not in your breakup recovery process. So if you are able to experience a renewed sense of joy in your life, that is a very positive sign, and it increases your chances of reaching your goal by a lot. And because obviously who you are, what you do, affects the way that this person sees you and perceives you. And so one of the things that I always say to clients in private coaching sessions is, don't wait to get back together to be happy. It's never going to happen that way. Your significant other will not give you the benefit of the doubt. First, you need to be happy, and then it's realistic for your significant other to want to be with you or to repair your relationship or your breakup. So that's the first sign. The second is still linked to your personal transformation, your ability to be social and your ability to enjoy the small things. After a breakup, you're oftentimes in a place of vulnerability and a place of desperation. And so you're unable to enjoy the small things and you isolate yourself. When you're on that path, on that track, it is very difficult to be able to inspire the one you love. So when you are able to be social, to go out and to enjoy those small things, a lot of times that is a very clear sign that you are well on your way. Another clear sign that I see from coaching sessions is when individuals have a really good understanding of what went wrong and why. Right? The goal is not just to get back with an ex. That makes no sense in a vacuum. The goal is to build a healthy, happy relationship where both parties can thrive. How can you build a healthy, happy relationship if you haven't done the work to really understand what went wrong and why? My experience has been that most people that follow our channels, most people that trust us, have done the work and are really aware of what went wrong and actually do the work to try to rebuild the relationship the right way. So that's another very positive sign. Another one linked to that is cultivating new habits. If you are the same person that your significant other broke up with, if you're the same person that ended up pushing your partner to ask for a divorce or a separation, you're going to have a very hard time rebuilding a new and improved relationship. So are you able to develop new habits? Are you able to actually see yourself change through action, not just through thought, not just an understanding of what went wrong, but actually applying that knowledge in your everyday life to build new habits and new patterns? That's a really good sign. And there's a direct correlation between your ability to do that and your ability to rebuild a new and improved relationship. Okay. Another good sign that I saw in my client is this ability to cultivate a long-term view, to be patient. After a breakup, you're suffering tremendously and you just want the pain to end. You just want to get back together like right away. And as a result, you're sometimes forcing the issue, right? And because you're forcing the issue, you're pushing them away. You're coming off desperate, needy, you know all those things, right? That's why it's important to have a long-term view. And how do you do that? You do that by the next very positive sign is when someone is focusing on the things that you can control. And I'm sure that you've heard me say that in quite a few of my videos, but there's a purpose to the madness. If you're focusing on the things that you can control, the odds are that you're going to be patient, you're going to take a long-term view, and you will be able to reconnect organically with this person that you love. Okay? So those were signs that were linked to your personal transformation. Positive signs in your breakup recovery linked to your personal transformation. Now, I'm going to address other positive signs, but I want to make sure that you guys are with me, that you guys are connecting with what I'm saying. So please do, if you do, please like the video, give me a heart, tell me in the chat, just so that I know that. Now, I don't want this to be a one-sided affair. I really want to use this space, doing these lives, to be able to interact with you. So please don't be shy. And hello to Lori from Germany. Welcome. Welcome to Gungun Singh from India as well. Okay, because you guys aren't so talkative, I'm going to assume that you're taking notes, and I'm going to continue. There's also, so we talked about positive sign linked to your process of personal transformation. But there can also be positive signs linked to their process of personal transformation. And this is perhaps a theme that you're not as familiar with, or one that you're not perhaps as comfortable with. Okay? So let me give you an example. When you see your ex evolving after a breakup, you get afraid, you get insecure, you feel like you're losing them. This fear of losing them starts to kind of permeate, and you almost want to hold on to the past. But the truth is, in the overwhelming amount of relationships that I see, it's never one person's fault. Even if you feel guilty, even if you're quite aware of all the mistakes that you make, it's not just your fault. Your significant other needs to use the breakup as a way to grow and to evolve as well. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to be in a new and improved relationship. So if your significant other is changing and acting differently after the breakup than they were when you were in a relationship, number one, it's normal, so don't panic. And number two, it's healthy. It's a different dynamic now. You guys are no longer together. So when your significant other is actually evolving, that is a good sign during your breakup. The contrary, the opposite would be when your significant other is still stuck on the breakup, still telling you the same things over and over and over again, still blaming you, still in this place of anger or complete lack of care, right? If they're indifferent or if they continue to stay in this state of anger post breakup, we're not making progress. The next positive sign is when an ex starts to take accountability for their actions. Once an ex comes, and also you can tell that they've gone through a process of introspection and self-reflection, when they start to tell you, you know what, I also made mistakes, or I realized that I could have done things differently, or it's not all your fault. That's a good sign. Now, in certain cases, an ex can feel bad because you're really beating yourself up and they can tell you these things. That's not always healthy. But in most cases, when you're not being needy, not being desperate, you're well on your way and you're applying a lot of the advice that you find on our channel. When you're able to do that, then when an ex takes accountability, it is a really, really, really good sign. And this is something that I see in my coaching sessions all the time. I see that we have new friends that have joined us. Thank you for coming. Brooklyn is in the house. Thank you for being with us here live, talking about the positive signs during a separation. The next positive sign that I want to talk to you about is when an ex realizes that they are not happier without you. This happens all the time. Perhaps this is happening to you as well. Perhaps you're someone that broke up with your significant other, thinking that you weren't happy in the relationship and that you're going to be happier on your own, single, or dating someone else that had potential. And then you realize you're not happier and that you made a mistake. And this is something I see all the time. And this is something that can and will also happen to your ex if you do the work, if you are really focusing on this personal transformation element, if you're focusing on the things that you can control, if you're avoiding the common mistakes of being too needy and being too desperate, etc., your ex will experience regret. And a lot of time, they will express that regret to you. When they're not too insecure, when they're comfortable in their own shoes, they will express that to you. And clearly that is a good sign. Okay, so sometimes there are signs that are so clear, but to you, because you're in your bubble and the fear of losing your significant other is so great, you don't see them. And that's why I wanted to do this live also, is to kind of enable you to have a broader vision and to be more positive. So Minerva is here from the Philippines, and it's 1:15 in the morning. Thank you. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for being with us. And I hope that you will gain some knowledge and insights from this live and from this video. So those were all positive signs linked to personal transformation. Your personal transformation, things that you can control, as well as your ex's personal transformations and the things that they can control. Because both of those elements need to happen in order to rebuild a new and improved relationship. But I also wanted to talk about positive signs linked to communication, because a lot of times when we're talking about positive signs, that's the only thing that you're thinking about. Obviously, you want your ex's validation, and oftentimes, that comes in the form of communication. So what are positive signs linked to communication? Well, number one, when you are able to communicate with your ex, with your significant other, without conflict, drama, or negativity. It may sound so simple and so basic, but for a lot of you, I would even say for the majority of you, it is difficult to communicate with your ex without drama, conflict, or negativity. Because you're both in a heightened emotional state, and because you're in a place of vulnerability, and perhaps because you don't want the same things. And so, very often, you will start to position yourself in a way that is threatening to your significant other. When you're trying to change their mind, when you invalidate their feelings, when you're overstepping their boundaries. And when you're able to connect, to communicate without drama, conflict, or negativity, whether it's via text, social media, in person, phone, doesn't matter. When you're able to do that, clearly that is a sign that the relationship is progressing, that the connection is coming back together. So please be mindful of that in your process of breakup recovery. Hello from our friends in South Africa, and thank you for your love and for your kind words to you, Finda, in the US. It warms my heart, and thank you for your trust. So, another very positive sign and goal that I ask of a lot of the people that I coach in private coaching sessions is to try to make your ex smile. Okay? So I'm not trying to tell you to be a goofball and to be a clown, but if you're able to get a smile out of them in casual conversation, it'll mean that you're reconnecting. It'll mean that you're confident. It's very difficult to be angry at someone when you're smiling, right? It's just a different vibe and a different energy when you're able to make your significant other smile. So if this is something that you're able to do, that is a positive sign, and it shows that you're on the right track, especially if you can do it consistently and organically. Another positive sign is when your ex reaches out to you first. Okay, so this is something that quite often is done kind of undercover. They'll have an excuse. They're reaching out maybe for some administrative thing, or maybe because they forgot something at your place, and they're making up all sorts of excuse when in reality they're trying to connect with you, right? And so if they're reaching out to you in an angry, negative way, okay, that may be different. But if they're reaching out to you in a friendly way, even if it's just to ask you a simple question, it's a good sign. And a lot of times you'll notice that they're reaching out to you for something when in reality, they didn't need to reach out to you. They could have Googled the information, they could have asked a friend. And so they're using that opportunity to try to seek closeness and connection. And that is a positive sign. It means that in some ways they're missing you, they're trying to reconnect. To go even further, when your ex asks to see you, whether it's for an exchange of keys or for your help to work on a project, something along those lines, that is very positive. It's one thing to be comfortable enough talking to one another. It's another when your ex feels comfortable enough seeing you. Okay, even if you have kids, even if you have to see each other some way, if your ex is comfortable enough to extend that invitation and to see you, it means that you're doing a lot of things right. You're most likely respecting their boundaries, you're not being needy, you're not being desperate, and perhaps it's not moving as fast as you want it to, this breakup recovery process, but at least you're on the right track. And it's very important for you to continue on this track as long as it takes. Remember, we talked earlier about taking a long-term view, being patient as part of your process of personal transformation. That's very, very important. Please don't spam the chat. Let's respect each other. I'm going to do my best to address some of your questions, but if you're spamming the chat and you're not being considerate of others, I'm gonna have to kick you out. So we want this to be a safe space for everyone. The next really good sign that I've seen in coaching sessions is when an ex starts to make future plans with you. Okay, it can be a casual invitation to a show or a restaurant, or it can be a more formal invitation to spend a family getaway with the kids. When your ex is not only comfortable enough planning something in the future and seeing you, but also taking ownership of that process, that is a really, really good sign. Okay, because once you do that, it shows that the process of attraction in some ways is really maturing. And again, don't get impatient. Don't focus on the negatives. Don't see the glass half empty. On the contrary, continue to focus on those things that you can control, like we talked about earlier. A next very good sign is when you're able to have connection, closeness, or intimacy. When there is that level of intimacy or closeness or connection, well, it means that they're still attracted to you. It means in some ways that they're yearning for to connect with you at some level. And obviously, it cannot just be limited to that, right? There's way more that goes into rebuilding a healthy relationship than the physical connection element of it. But when that is taking place in a healthy way, in general, it is a very, very good sign. It does not mean that you should rush into having intimacy with your significant other. In a lot of cases, I actually discourage you from having intimacy, especially when you are too vulnerable. And we don't want to try to leverage that as a way for them to kind of cling on and as a way for you to kind of be afraid of them moving on. We want to avoid that. But when there is closeness and when your significant other is willing to go there with you, in general, that can be a very good sign. There's two more signs that I wrote down that I wanted to kind of share with you. One of them is when your ex tries to indirectly communicate with you or to connect with you. You know, sometimes this happens with the younger age group, people that are in their mid-20s, 30s. Oftentimes, your ex-girlfriend or your ex-wife, or even ex-boyfriend or ex-husband isn't comfortable reaching out to you directly, so they're going to try to communicate with you indirectly through a friend or on social media. And sometimes people are insecure, even if they're the one that broke up, even if they told you pretty nasty things. The reality is that they can still be quite insecure, afraid of rejection, or afraid that if they communicate with you directly, that you're going to overstep the boundaries and start to, really come after them hard, because perhaps that's a pattern that had developed earlier on in the process when you had less control over your feelings and emotions, and perhaps before you started to discover our content. So if they're trying to communicate with you indirectly, it is still a good sign. If they're trying to get your attention or trying to get you to react, and if they're testing you, that is a good sign. It means they care, right? Lastly, for those of you whose significant other is in a relationship, in a rebound relationship, oftentimes someone will break up and right away jump into another relationship. Perhaps it can be with someone that they already knew and that they were working, to kind of build something with. And other times it's because they just go on Tinder or Bumble or whatnot, because they don't know how to be single and they quickly jump into another relationship to try to boost their ego and their confidence. Men, we know how to do that quite well, unfortunately. And so if your significant other is in a relationship and still seeking to communicate with you, still seeking to connect with you, that is a clear sign that this relationship may not be all that fulfilling to them. Ultimately, it may be a sign that they're not as happy, that they're starting to miss you. And so, you really want to keep an eye out for that, because ultimately, when this tends to happen, you know that that you have an opportunity really to connect with them. So Jesse Hugh says, don't reach out, stay in no contact. In some cases, yes. In other cases, no. Staying in no contact indefinitely forever is not something that I believe in. I think that every situation is different, and that in some cases, staying in no contact forever and waiting for your ex to make that first move you'll lose many opportunities to reconnect. And I've seen many clients, out of fear of reaching out or because they've adhere to a philosophy that you should never take that first step, miss out on an opportunity to reconnect the right way. So be careful with that. Those were 17 signs, 17 positive signs that you can look out for during your separation, breakup recovery process. And I hope that this will not only be helpful to you in providing you with renewed hope and optimism for where you stand, but that it's also going to give you practical things that you can look out for in your situation to see that you're making progress, right? And that things aren't doomed, that there's still an opportunity to do this. Yes, I am taking questions, so please go for it. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, give me a heart, a thumbs up, whatever it may be. The goal is to do these lives once a week. I can't commit to every Tuesday at this time at 12, but that's what I'm hoping for, to be closer to you and to continue to connect and answer your questions. What about long distance relationship coach? Macy, thank you for your question. I'm going to do a series on long distance relationships that are going to come out on all of my channels. I have, I think, 25 topics specifically on long distance relationships that I'm going to be recording in the studios in the coming days, weeks. So keep an eye out for that. It's my passion. I love long distance relationships. I'm actually created a program on long distance relationships that you're going to be able to, stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of content in 2022 in the spring and in the coming weeks on that. I promise you that. I also, for those of you who are live, I put in the description below a special gift, a discount towards 3 programs, one by the amazing Coach Natalie, one by Coach Alex, and one by myself. It's our 3-product method to rebuild a relationship. So it's in the link below. Check it out if you want to take it a step further and have more tools at your disposal. Okay, Bako Gallo wants to know, can we wish a happy birthday in no contact? It depends. It depends on really what has transpired. If you were needy, clingy, if your ex really had to kind of set hard boundaries, wishing a happy birthday may not be a good idea. They may see you as still being super vulnerable and clingy, and perhaps you can send a bigger message by not reaching out to them and wishing them a happy birthday. If you, for instance, were on good terms, on amicable terms after the relationship ended, it may be weird not to wish them a happy birthday. So there's a range, and it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. Most times, I would say it's better not to, but when there are specifics, obviously there are exceptions. And if you are at an advanced stage in your breakup recovery process, perhaps it may be worth it to wish them a happy birthday. Kim says, it's been 2 years of no contact. What steps should I take? 2 years is a long time. I think that it's time to try to reconnect with them, just at least have a gauge, a sense as to where things stand, right? You can't be in no contact indefinitely. That's the answer to the question that the statement that someone was making. You can't be in no contact forever. At some point, we need to try our luck and reconnect in a not in an informal, non-threatening way. It can be a message on Facebook or Instagram. It can be a text, depending on the reality of your breakup recovery. But don't bring up the past. Don't apologize. Don't do all of those things. Make it casual and simple, and use this more as a way to get a sense as to where your ex stands at this point, rather than an end-all be-all to your process of trying to get back together. How do you do no contact when you live together and work from home? Not an easy one. So here we're looking at obviously, capturing the spirit of the no contact and applying it to your reality, which means pulling away, right? You're not seeking their validation and their attention. You're not trying to initiate communication. You're trying to spend time outside of the home and perhaps reestablish a new rhythm, a new pattern when you're home, to show that you're pulling away and that you're not being clingy and that you're giving them space. Being social, going out with friends, having plans, making sure that you always have the next thing planned and not relying on them so much for your validation, happiness, socialization. That is capturing the spirit of the no contact and applying it to a situation where you have to see each other all day, every day, for example. Okay, So we're coming up on 30 minutes of this live, and I have a coaching session coming up. So I'm going to need to sign off soon, unfortunately. But like I said, I'm committed to doing these lives once a week to be closer to you guys, to answer your questions, to share some of the knowledge that is shared in private coaching sessions with perhaps some of you who may not have the resources. And also to make sure that you know that we're here, that we support you, that we're in it together, and that we're fighting the good fight together, right? So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please, if so, again, let me know, and I'll see you next week for yet another video. Before I sign off, there's a couple people that asked for a success story, and I know that this is something that we don't do enough of. So I would like to share a success story with you. There's this young lady who was in a complicated relationship, and she got back together with her significant other just this past week, right? So 3-4 days ago. And the good thing was that a lot of these positive signs that we talked about is something that she intuitively knew. Like, I didn't have to really work on her mindset and getting her to believe that it was possible and all of those things. She was very bright, very sharp, very independent in some ways, and very sure of what she brought to the table. And she didn't let her insecurities and her fear of losing this person get the best of her. So when there were opportunities, she was able to seize them. I actually had to encourage her to not be as cold and as distant to her significant other, because she had many opportunities to connect with him, but she kept kind of playing her cards tight to her vest. But eventually he did the work. He did the work to pursue her, even though he had broken up with her, because she had been patient. She had stayed true to herself and to her values. And it didn't even take that long, quite honestly. So a breakup recovery sometimes can take, some time, especially when mistakes happen after the breakup. But in cases where you avoid mistakes after the breakup, when you value yourself, you see this as an opportunity to grow, as a process of personal transformation. You understand that it's just like a learning lesson along the way, and you're not acting desperate. It was not her sole responsibility to rebuild this relationship. She loved the man. She wanted to be with him, but she also understood her value, and she was not going to settle for, less than what she deserved. And she understood that he had a lot at stake too, because she knew what she brought to the table. And if she did it, you can do it too. So this was the success story of the week. Maybe that's a good segment. Maybe I can every week share a success story with you guys, so that you also have another positive boost of encouragement as you continue to move forward. I went above and beyond what I wanted to, but I'm happy I did. I'm happy we spent this time together, and I hope that we're going to connect again, perhaps next Tuesday at this same time. Again, special gift for those of you who were live. In the comment section below, you'll see this link to my 3-product method. Coach Natalie, Coach Alex, and myself are one of our best programs that really helps people. We've combined them in one program for you, so you can access that below. Thank you, friends, for your trust. Thank you for your interactions and for your your questions, your loving words of encouragement. It means a lot to me, as you know. And we will do this again soon. And until next week, you know what you got to do. Good vibes, that's right. And keep fighting the good fight. Much love.